Is it morning?
It is still morning.
Wow.
Feels like it here. We're warming up here.
Some of us are still waking up. Welcome to Monday and welcome to Studio 5. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. We're starting off with a little bit of a tough topic, but one that applies to all relationships, and we've all been there. Someone gives you some criticism, and what's the first thing that happens? You get defensive, those walls go up, and the conversation takes a dive.
And criticism can really be hard sometimes to hear, especially when it comes from a spouse. That's the person who's supposed to love you no matter what happens. They're not supposed to criticize you. So Studio 5 relationship coach Matt Townsend says there are ways to make sure that it can help and not hurt, but this is something that happens to all of us, right?
All day, every day. In fact, right before we came on the air, Brooke said something really rude to me.
No, set it
So
up.
I'm not even talking. Go ahead, Darren. What were you saying?
Townsend goes, we're going to find a way to make criticism happy.
Fun.
And so I tried to say it with a smile, and it
She
still
said
was
something
criticism. I was just kidding.
Anywho, so, no, but you know what?
But
Three
there was
clients.
some truth in that, in the criticism, too, that she had to you, too.
Oh, now who are you going to talk to?
I hate this show. You guys are so rude. 3 clients last week came in, 3 women who have hypercritical husbands, and all of them are done. Sick of it. Done. Moving on.
Can I ask you?
Not going to do it.
Does it happen more? Because I know oftentimes women come in and say, you know, you've mentioned this a few times before.
Yeah.
Do women come in and complain about hypercritical spouses more than men come in and complain about hypercritical spouses?
No, what I found is when you're in a critical relationship, everyone feels like they're being criticized.
Yeah.
There's a thing called negative interpretation, and once the relationship goes bad enough, we start to see everything negative in the relationship, which is where a lot of this criticism comes from. But the thing about it is, you're going to have it, and one of my rules is you got to learn to stop it or fix it as soon as you can, because it's going to go on forever. In fact, I did my radio show Saturday about critical partners.
What was the feedback like?
Feedback, tons of stuff, like getting into diets, and people that don't feel good about themselves tend to be more critical. At some point, we're more critical of our families and our closest people, those are closest to us. We don't criticize our friends and our neighbors half as much as we might criticize our kids. So we got to get some tools out there.
So is it you have to learn how to, obviously we're in a position where we can fix how we give criticism, but if it's your spouse who you feel is hypercritical, you're not going to be able to necessarily fix them, so you have to learn how to deal with what you're hearing.
You get them fixed. You send them out, and you get them fixed. That's why we come to me. No, but what you do is, here's the first rule, okay? Most important, I honestly think of all of them. All criticism that you receive is usually more about the person criticizing than about what they're saying about you. The criticism is always a reflection of the person that's doing the criticizing. So one of my rules is, don't always believe it. Just start to see that what this is telling you is something about your partner, not so much about you. So don't take it as personal. And everyone's like, that's easy for you to say, Matt. When they keep saying something critical about you, that's easy for you to say. But the hard part is you've got to get into them and figure out what is it that really they're saying. What is it about them that makes this such an important point?
The message behind the message.
What's the message behind the message? Sometimes you'll notice it's just timing. Sometimes you'll notice they'll be more critical when they're depressed, when they're sad, when they're frustrated, when they're not feeling good about themselves. They start criticizing you. So remember that this isn't probably about you. So don't internalize it, that it's about you.
You mentioned the thing about someone criticizing the diet and all that kind of stuff. Is that normally that the person who's criticizing is unhappy with their own self and their own diet and their own body image or whatever?
Right.
And they're criticizing the other person.
Exactly right. So here's the second rule. Check your sources. You journalists know this better than anybody. You got to check your sources. If your source that is overweight and they're telling you that you need to eat healthier, then you know what? I'd check your source.
What's wrong with this?
Or if you know that the person telling you that you need to eat better is someone that's obsessed with eating, or is you know, anorexic, or is always constantly watching their weight, then check your source. Pay attention to who's saying what. That sometimes the messenger is the message. If you have somebody that's really focused on money and you know they're really uptight about money, then when they tell you that you spend way too much money, you know what? Read that into that. All of our communication has a context, and the context always involves who you're talking with. You know what I mean? If you talk to somebody that's a Tiger Woods right now about good relationships, we take it careful. You know what I mean? Check your sources.
But that can work on the flip side as well, because it's almost a self-check for yourself. If you check the source and maybe it's reputable or it's valid,
that's exactly right.
You're going to maybe do a double check on your own behavior.
That's exactly right. And so that gets to the third rule. The third rule is to find the truth of what they're saying. I have this belief that in every conversation, there's about 80% that we're talking about that's accurate, or that I can buy into, and there's 20% that I might not like. I like that even when you're getting feedback from somebody you don't like, I try to find where you can find agreement. Admit what you can admit. Agree, accept what you can accept, acknowledge what you can accept. The biggest fights I see when it comes to criticism is when we start to get reactive about it, we reject everything they're saying. And they just see, no, there's truth. You did eat a box of Twinkies. You need to pull back. You need to slow down. And so if I can admit, you know what, I totally admit, I need to watch my diet a little bit better. I appreciate that you care enough for me that you'll say something. And then here's the trick. Then reject what you don't like. You don't have to accept everything they say, but reject what you don't like using the word and instead of a but. I can't remember if we've talked about this on the show before.
So walk us through that.
Ands, not buts. I really appreciate what you're saying. I admit that I need to watch my weight more, and I don't feel really good when you come out and start demanding that I watch my weight. That's how I reject your approach. Watch this. I appreciate what you're saying. I accept that I need to watch my weight, but I don't like it when you come back and start pushing on me about my weight.
You just discounted everything
you said. I immediately
said,
I didn't pick up anything that you said. So there's a powerful tool that's ands, not buts. When your brain hears an and, it builds a bridge between two ideas. When your brain hears a but, it builds a wall, and it says believe everything after the but. So if you're going to accept somebody's feedback, accept whatever part you can. I admit I need to touch you more in this relationship, and I apologize that I haven't been that way. And I need that our touches are more than just having to go to be physical. I need to touch all day long.
That's a great tool. That's an aha for a lot of people. You're smart.
I'm telling you.
Does the and but
Thank you. That's a great compliment.
Does the and but thing affect the person giving the criticism or the person accepting the criticism, or is it both?
It's probably both, because now what I'm doing is I'm starting to focus on where I do have agreement with you instead of where I disagree with you. And I'm making it so that your brain doesn't have to automatically reject what I'm saying back to you. If I have the and, your brain will allow it in. Like, listen to this. I love my kids with all of my heart, and they suck the life out of me. Okay, watch this. I love my kids with all of my heart, but they suck the life out of me. It's different. It's just different. The two ideas can coexist. We can love our kids, and they can still suck the life out of us. Okay?
Same idea, is just different attitude. I mean, that changed
exactly
the whole tone of what you said.
Last one, and this is probably the most important rule, is simply don't turn your self-esteem over to another person. At some point, especially somebody that you don't necessarily agree with or that's pressing you, you own how you feel about yourself. If you don't feel good about yourself, there's stuff you probably already know you need to be doing. Don't turn all of your identity over to someone else. Even your partner telling you you're beautiful and great and incredible, don't believe all of that either. Don't believe everything everyone says. You've got to own your self-esteem, because if you don't own it, then guess what? Somebody has way too much power over you. And if somebody has power to totally upset your mood for days, then we've given someone way too much power. And that's one of the things in relationships we can't do, is I have to own how I respond to you. I have to own how I feel about myself. If you do have low self-esteem, I'd get help. There's people that'll help you, therapists, coaches. Get help, because and if you know that this was one thing on the radio show, tons of people called in saying, I need help. I don't know how to do this feedback thing. I don't know how to give good feedback. So make sure you're getting help, because this isn't going to go away. We need feedback the rest of our lives.
That's an aha as well. You know, people think that one trusted individual who you're supposed to share everything with and be all things with can weigh in on your attitude, but not so.
Totally. Well, you can own, and they can impact it.
Sure.
The only way that they can constantly impact it is if you think you have no power over it. If you think you have to take what they say and feel whatever you think they're trying to make you feel, you're giving way too much power to people, and nobody deserves that much power in your life but you.
As much as we love that spouse, we are responsible still for our own selves and for how we feel about ourselves. Right. As Matt said, it's important sometimes to get help for some things. You have a fun date night coming up for a lot of people.
You know what? We've been doing these date nights, and they're taking off. What happens is it's fun. It's a way that I can influence your partner in a positive way. We do them every once a month. This one's coming up Saturday, January 16th, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. It's $20 per couple. By the way, next month, the February one, I'd get in on that one. That's when we're going to release my new book.
Oh.
Yeah, baby. Dun, 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 dun. And so it'll be a great date night and tons of fun. Just call our number, 801-747-2121.
And we'll have more information on the Studio 5 website.
Yes.
That one little word that we love so much. That was great, Matt. Thanks so much. Coming up next on Studio